Hey everybody, Jeter Kurtenbach here with Larry Krueger here in the KNBR San Francisco offices, breaking down the things you need to watch for on Thursday night's 49ers-Seahawks game. Larry, obviously a short week, arch rival game, you could argue is an elimination game for the playoffs. Is there new life in this 49ers team? Are you feeling some positivity for the first time this year?
Definitely offensively.
Yeah.
In the last couple of weeks against the Giants and the Ravens, the offense has gotten going, and that's good to see. But how much of it was it the Giants and the Ravens are two of the worst six pass defenses in football, and how much of it is Colin Kaepernick kind of finding his way? I think we're going to get the answer to that question in this game against Seattle, because this is a real defense. And
Right.
Jordan Devey and Eric Pierce, especially Pierce going up against Cliff Averill, I think he's going to have his hands full. And if the 49ers win this game and are impressive doing it, I think there'll be a lot of optimistic 49er fans coming out of this one.
So you look at the offense and how it's looked good in these last two games. What do you attribute that to? What's the main thing that you pull away?
Well, I mean, the Giants and the Ravens secondary, both of them were really bad.
About the 49ers, though. Have they done anything positive, or are they just playing crap?
Yeah, they're taking Colin Kaepernick from the shotgun and they're playing him behind center, and I think it's improved his timing and his kind of it's kept his eyes on the coverage throughout. I think that's a good thing. More than anything, I think Kaepernick he kind of bottomed out, and now he's kind of resurfacing. And I think Anquan Bolden took a leadership role by kind of standing behind the quarterback and saying positive things. I think that had a big impact. This thing was very precarious a couple weeks ago, and could have gone south and didn't.
Right.
And part of it's because of the quality of opponent, but a lot of it is because of internally. I think some of the leaders in that room said, you know what, we're going to turn this thing around.
Seattle's defense obviously hasn't been as good as it's been in years past, but it still has those playmakers, and with Chancellor coming back into the fray, you imagine that they're going to kind of get into a rhythm sometime soon. What is it that Seattle's defense will give the 49ers that they haven't seen these last 2 weeks? What is it that they're going to have to adjust to?
Well, first of all, pass rush.
Right.
I mean, the defensive line, they can put a lot of pressure on you, and they will. So they have to deal with more pass rush. That's number one. Number two is three of the best free safety, best strong safety, and maybe the best corner in football all play in the same secondary. And that secondary has a ton of confidence against the 49ers. So 49ers are going to have to show early on that they can make some pass plays against this secondary, or it's going to be a really long day, a really long evening, I should say.
How concerning is it to you? I was going back through the tape of the Ravens game, and Kaepernick, and Greg Cosell's brought this up, I think the last 2 weeks on your guys' show, Gary and Larry, that Kaepernick isn't really reading the field at all. He's just locking it on a receiver and throwing it, and against bad secondaries like the Giants and the Ravens have, he was getting away with it. I don't imagine you're going to get away with that against the Seahawks. How much of a concern is it that there isn't a lot of dynamicism in the pocket from Kaepernick these last 2 weeks?
Well, they're not really asking him to read the field and go through progressions as much as they're having kind of predetermined.
Right.
If you see this, then you're going here. Where he goes from here, I mean, it's a process. The positive with Kaepernick is he's improving. The downside of it, he's improving slowly. And I think people in his fifth year at this point were expecting to see him improve dramatically and rapidly, and it hasn't happened. So I think he's just going to be a guy who, until you surround him with a better cast, better line, maybe a receiver that can win one-on-one matchups against man coverage on the outside, a better defense, maybe even a more dynamic running game, I think you'll see him improve.
Second half, Carlos Hyde has that foot injury early in the second half, and the 49ers run game was really never able to recover as Hyde was hobbled. And Jared Hayde hasn't shown an ability to run from scrimmage. Reggie Bush, if he plays, hasn't proved he can stay on the field. What is it can the 49ers establish an actual running game if Carlos Hyde isn't at 100%, or is that sort of a lost cause going into Thursday night's game?
It's a great question. Mike Davis is an interesting name, the rookie from South Carolina, but how much can you lean on a rookie? That's the question. I think if Carlos Hyde missed any kind of extended time, you would see them use their receivers on jet sweeps. Bruce Ellington, if he's healthy with that calf, would be a guy that I think would be featured in that. Other ways to control the football, not put it in the air, but also, not necessarily hand it to Jared Hayne and say, figure it out.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm very, they worked out Pierre Thomas.
Right.
We talked about Ray Rice. I don't think they're going down that road anytime soon.
Nope.
But I think, there's no way they'll get through this season with Carlos Hyde, Reggie Bush, and Jared Hayne. They will have to add, and Mike Davis. They'll have to add to this mix. I don't know if they'll be this week.
Offensively for the Seahawks, Russell Wilson, that offensive line, I mean, we talk about the 49ers offensive line being poor. Seattle's offensive line has gone from great to terrible in the span of a year. Russell Wilson's gotten them into some good stuff with his legs and his ability to read the field. But you look at what the 49ers were able to do against the Packers a couple weeks back, and they were really able to blitz Aaron Rodgers into some bad decisions, and they didn't get blown out like everyone thought they would. Do you expect more of the same? Do you expect more blitzes this week?
No,
really?
I really don't. I think what you've seen the last couple of weeks from the 49er defense has been they're playing a lot of coverage.
Right.
You know, they're dropping guys, and they're saying, you know what, you're going to have to pick the soft spots, and we're not going to give you a predetermined read. And I don't think they're going to blitz a whole lot. You haven't seen it the last couple of weeks, and I don't think you're going to see it a lot this week. You know, and is
that a winning strategy? It doesn't seem like it to me.
Yeah, I mean, on one hand, you're not going to force the ball out of the quarterback's hand, and I think you'll see a couple third down timed blitzes in this game, but just a few on third down. I don't think you're going to see. In week 1 and week 2, it was Eric Mangini dialing up exotic blitzes left and right.
Right.
And you're not going to see that because I don't think Mangini believes that Acker or Brock can stand up and play man-to-man coverage on the outside all day. I don't think they're that caliber of corner. But if they drop guys into coverage and kind of force longer drives, I think they feel like they can be more successful. The numbers show, though, that the 49er middle is getting torched.
Yes.
Michael Wilhoit, Navarro Bowman, Antoine Bethea, and maybe most specifically Eric Reed have all just been worked over in coverage, and I believe opposing teams are completing well over 80% in the middle of the field. So I would expect that's what we're going to see. We're going to see a lot of Jimmy Graham and a lot of Baldwin and a lot of these middle-of-the-field routes and maybe crossing routes and underneath routes to try to give Russell guys flashing in front of his face. And also the one thing in this game you got to look for is that Russell once or twice a game the last 3 or 4 times has held the ball for like almost 8 to 10 seconds on a single play.
Yeah.
And 1 or 2 plays like that will break down a defense and kill your defense's wind. So that's going to be something to watch for. Does he break them down the way Chris Paul breaks down NBA defenses by just doing these little figure eights in the backfield, stopping and starting and just, unlike the other quarterbacks who like to get rid of the ball. Eli Manning likes to get rid of the ball. This guy will hold it. He'll hold it all day.
It will be very interesting because this Seahawks team is clearly not of the caliber they've been in years past. That offensive line, again, is woeful comparatively to where it's been. But the 49ers are showing this progression. You can see it coming through. These teams have an equal record, but completely different perspectives on where the season is. One of them's complete disappointment. One of them is, hey, this actually isn't that bad. We might actually have something here. Ultimately, with this game, you look at the Seahawks owning the last game and sort of knocking the 49ers off the pedestal last year. I don't think you can really bring revenge into it at all because it's such a different 49ers roster. Where do you see this game going? What do you ultimately see going down? Final score prediction for you, Larry.
Yeah, it's a division game. I think it will be close. I think the Seahawks will win. I think it's like maybe a 28-21 Seahawk game.
Yeah.
The thing about this matchup is that Seahawks have a ton of confidence against the 49ers, and I would imagine Kaepernick has very little against them. I would expect Kaepernick will take care of the football. It won't be like Thanksgiving where he's floating passes all over the field to Richard Sherman. But I don't think the 49ers will be able to convert on third down the way they did last week, and I really see them challenged to score more than 3 touchdowns. And I think Seattle is looking at this game as a way to kind of jumpstart their whole season.
Right.
And they are a deeper, better, more talented football team, and I think it will show.
If what you said a few moments ago about them running a lot of underneath routes and trying to torch the middle of the field and not blitzing unless it's third down and even then only bringing an extra rusher, if that's what the 49ers want to do defensively, they're going to get torched. There's just no 2 ways about it in my mind, and I think that you're probably right that that's what they'll do. They'll drop back 6 defensive backs in coverage, they'll go big zone schemes, and they'll try to fill in on running plays, and they'll be able to do so because that offensive line, again, for Seattle is pretty rough on the run. But if they let Russell Wilson tear apart that zone, he will do so.
Yeah.
And,
I would say the 49ers have to be +2, maybe +3 on the turnover table at the end of the day to
That's
have a
fair,
chance. If you look at the last 6 games Kaepernick has played against Seattle, he's lost 5. And in those 5 games, or in those 6 games, he's thrown 3 touchdowns and 9 interceptions. That trend continues, and this is going to be a very one-sided game. I don't expect it to continue. I think he'll take care of the football. But the 49ers, as I said, +2, +3, they got a shot to win. If it's an even turnover table, I think Seahawks win a pretty close game.
I think there's some fun mojo happening for the Niners at Levi's Field, or Levi's Stadium, where they seem to just play better. You look at them on the road, it's almost a different team. So I'll give them maybe a 5-point advantage there, but I still think they get rocked in this game, and pretty quickly too. I'm just not liking what I've seen the last couple of weeks when you think about sliding in a different team than the Ravens and the Giants.
It's really hard to pick the 49ers in this game because the 49ers are a running football team with one runner, and he's got a bad foot, and he's on a short week. So
don't try to upsell it.
Crazier things have happened,
Right.
And we'll be there.
Yeah.
But I think Seahawks win this game.
Agreed. We'll have to find out, though. Thursday night, Levi Stadium. The game's on 107.7 The Bone, KNBR 680. Larry will be there. I'll be there. Everybody behind the camera here will be there, and should have a fun time. Hope you'll be there with us. Until then, Larry Krueger, Dieter Kurtenbach. Good night, Australia.